As Michael Jordan once said, I'm back.
You are back. Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be back. We've got a new setup again. Every time I come back,
This
it's
is
a new
only
setup.
a new setup for you, though.
That's true.
We also have special guest, Gray
do.
Bray. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank
Gray is actually a PA and in-game host for CCU Athletics.
Yes, ma'am.
We're going to get to that, and we're going to get to the fact that he calls me ma'am, and I feel so old.
Well, this is something you and I have talked about too, because like
Yes.
where we grew up, saying "ma'am" is like offensive, like you're calling somebody old. But we appreciate the way that you say it. We know that it's a good thing.
There's
Down
offense if
here
I
it is.
don't say it.
Yeah,
Right,
There's more of an
exactly.
offense if I don't.
Yeah,
100%.
it was a culture shock. It was.
An absolute culture shock, especially once I hit my 30s. But I need to address, people were very concerned last week when we recorded that
Really?
Teagan was not here. We had Brad on YouTube reach out and say, make sure you keep Teagan. She is a diamond in the rough.
A diamond in the wild, which was so sweet. It was so nice. I really appreciate that comment, Brad. But yeah, I was driving to JMU, that lovely 7-hour drive, which was a brutal drive for a brutal game. So
Yeah, well,
we'll get to that.
We will absolutely get to that. That is pretty much the whole idea of this week's episode, is to talk about CCU sports. But also, don't be afraid. Don't be a stranger. Comment in our
Please.
YouTube. Reach out to us on our social media. We would love to respond, and we're always taking feedback on all of these episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, how are we going to get better?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Reps,
well,
baby, reps.
Reps. Exactly. Well, this is
Reps are
rep number
important.
8, and this is set number 8.
on us trying to film the podcast today, or
No, this is episode number 8 and set.
Oh.
Like our set.
We're on
It changes
8
every
already.
episode. We
Yeah,
call
it
it
really
our
does.
Goldilocks phase.
Gotcha.
we're still in it.
Yes.
Okay.
We
So,
might be in it forever.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Welcome to this phase.
Well,
of
I'm glad
our-
I'm in this phase
Yes.
specifically.
Yes.
So this phase will be important to me and special to me. So
Yeah.
There we
thank you.
go. Well, Gray, welcome to the show. And just to kind of give people who are listening or watching an idea, you are a senior at CCU.
Yes, ma'am.
You do the in-game host for CCU football, and you do PA for, which is public announcer, for a lot of the other athletics.
I do. I right now with the fall season, I'm the PA for men's and women's soccer, and then I'm in-game host for football and volleyball right now.
That's really cool. And you're from the Grand Strand.
I am. I was born down in Surfside.
Surfside Beach. That is, you know what? Not a bad place to be.
I
Not
love
at all.
Surfside. They've got a great farmers market.
They do, actually.
They do.
And so, how far did you venture off before you ended up back at CCU?
So I moved to Columbia when I was two and a half. My brother was born, and then my dad got a job, or his job moved him to Charlotte, and we ended up staying right across the border in Fort Mill, South Carolina.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I grew up, went to high school there, went to elementary, middle, and high school there, and then back to Coastal for college, so starting back in 2021.
What?
Nice.
Oh, no, you. I
I
was, saying
was just going to
nice.
say, because I know I talked to you a while ago. I interviewed you about the new sports broadcasting kind of program at Coastal, and we kind of talked about why you chose to wear teal. But can you just, tell our audience about why Coastal?
Yeah, so I had a personal connection, like living or being born down here, but it was between here and the University of South Carolina, and that's kind of how I grew up at Gamecock. My mom went and got her master's at South Carolina, as well as my uncle. All the baby pictures have, little Gamecock stuff, like baby Gamecock and everything, and as for the longest time, I thought that was going to be where I ended up, and it just ended up being a better decision to come to Coastal. Really, some really cool opportunity. The size of the school is what really pulled me in to come down here, and you can't beat being the school of the beach. So
That is a wild
That's
concept to
True.
me.
We both went to school where it snows, so.
A lot. You get a lot of
lot.
snow days.
Yeah.
There isn't a beach within miles for where I went to school, but that is really cool. And so you have talked about like all of these different sports that you kind of PA and host. What would you say is your favorite?
So I came into announcing, and I was like, I wanted to do PA. I knew that like the host position was a thing, but we hadn't had one at any sort of sporting event. It had only been PA. And then starting my junior year, we got a new director of marketing and fan engagement, Cliff Bonner. He kind of introduced the possibility of us even having one, and entrusted me with being able to do men's and women's basketball. And so that's been a really cool experience. And it's hard to pick one because each one affords such a unique opportunity, especially with like different fan bases of different people that are interested in different sports. I will say probably the most unique one and the most fun I've had, just because you're in front of the amount of people that you are, is football.
Of course.
But each one does, I kind of, again, afford sort of a unique opportunity. Like being able to PA at softball and you're there from 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. on the tournament days. Like that's just something really cool that I don't think I would be able to experience otherwise. So different opportunities. I know that the answer you're looking for is football there, but but it is kind of,
your answer.
There's like my answer, there's like a lot of interesting opportunities for different sports.
Honestly, I think that's the best answer.
Yeah. I mean, so football wise, Allyson has experienced this because she went to her first Coastal game 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Yeah,
so you know the running back and forth on the sideline for us with a camera is one thing, but for you as an in-game host, I mean, we see you zooming past us like you're like, hi guys, bye guys, and then you're gone like to one side of the stadium, then the other. Can you just take us through a day in the life kind of as an in-game host for a Coastal football game, especially with homecoming this weekend, which I know will be an even crazier one?
For sure, absolutely. So it starts anywhere between 5 and 6 hours before kickoff, depending on the game day prep. We do a really good job during the week of kind of getting our scripts already set. We've run through all the music, we've run through all the video board stuff. Everything's already set, but it's kind of like, game day, what could go wrong will go wrong. So being there early is always important. And so we'll be there, and like probably 4 hours in advance, we'll go through all the video board stuff and mic checks. We got our headset checks. That'll make sure that those work. The live cam for down on the field. And once that's done, you kind of just hanging out and kind of getting those pregame jitters out. We another one of our part of our department is the DJ, the new DJ this year. So help coordinate and getting him from his car with all of his stuff up to I think it's section 110 or 111, getting all of his stuff set up. And then once it hits about 2.5 hours, everybody's in the stadium because the gates open at 2 hours. And once the gates open, you're kind of just tending to the fans in that area, making sure all of our stuff is good to go. We start engaging with the fans. I try to talk to as many people as I can, especially in the student section prior, to kind of build that personal connection with the fans, because I think because I've seen I got to like watch a lot of YouTube and also go to different games and see a lot of different people host, and all of them I've seen do it different ways and do really good jobs. But I think where you can set yourself apart is actually having that personal connection with the fans. And at the college level, it's the students, right?
Yeah,
so it's my classmates. It's not just random people that you're going to meet by happenstance. It's like kids I'm sitting in class with and people that I'm like eating at the lunch table with and that's what I think is so cool about college sports, is that it's like, yes, there's fans of all ages, backgrounds, and all that kind of stuff, but it's also like I'm getting to go to school. I'm doing life with these people. So really just making that personal connection with them through those next 2 hours before kickoff. Then by about half an hour, everybody gets back in the stadium, all the spirit, all band, and we get prepped to do pregame. Band will come out at 20, make sure that they have their microphone because they have a separate announcer that announces for their show. And once their show's done, they'll have the national anthem singer. So the national, because we only have one microphone, so it'll be him or her will have the microphone. They'll sing, and then they hand it off to me. I do Sino, run over to the tunnel. We do the celebrity guest starter for the Go Shots, and then after that, it's just kind of prep before the run out. And then once the game starts, it's just kind of like, hold on, right? Like everything we've planned for this entire week, we know it's going to go to plan, but it's just kind of like you're really feeding off the energy. Like we stay to the script as like well-oiled as possible, but at the same time, it's like, hey, we need a really big hit right now. You need to get loud. Like we're going to do that. So
yeah.
That's actually a great way for me to ask. Do you ever think that it's a struggle sometimes? So say the game's not necessarily going in CCU's favor. Do you find that to be hard to kind of get the audience, the fans, into any sort of chant that you're trying to start?
I think because a lot of it I'll try to do like the hype or encouraging without the microphone. And I think them seeing my positive energy throughout the game from the jump all the way through, and also being positive to give the example, the Virginia game
Yeah.
that didn't go in our favor.
Still
trying to be like, all right, guys, it's like a unique scenario, but we're down 21. We score here, we score again. Onside kick, we score again, right? And it might not happen, but at least somebody believes in it.
Yeah.
And hopefully that energy then feeds into them believing in it. And then when we do turn on the microphone and try to start a chant to try to get the team back in the game, that hopefully that they like buy into it.
Yeah. So
awesome.
This is, my second season here kind of taking in this coastal environment. And last year it was very different from what this year's been so far. For you, as somebody who's there to foster that student experience and fan experience and to increase it, how do you think the changes that have been made have impacted game day and just all the excitement around it?
It's night and day. Like, it's like astronomical. It's so cool to be a part of, because there is so much new, and there's only going to continue to be so much new. And I think that's something that's very important, because the landscape of not just college football but college athletics and athletics as a whole is changing. So to be a part of that and to be on the forefront of a part of that change is something that's very, very cool and very unique. I think it's one of the coolest group of five entrances in college football right now. And I say that obviously biased. I mean, I love this school, and I also am putting in the hours to be able to help out with it as one piece of it. But I genuinely think that it is one of the coolest entrances in group of five college football right now.
That's great.
I mean, it's awesome. Like you said, it's literally night and day from last year's entrance, because I think we talked about this on one of the first podcast episodes of like traditions in college football. And Coastal is obviously a great environment, great place to be, but really the only tradition I could think of from last year was playing Thunderstruck before, and then, certain things on third down and first down and all that kind of stuff. But there wasn't anything where I was like, wow, like this really sticks out about traditions at Coastal.
I was actually just thinking about it, and you kind of brought it up with the changes that they've done this year. The Con Wave now, the student section. We've mentioned this on the podcast before, and it's not just a CCU thing, but it's maybe a all-college student section thing. Do you find a struggle keeping the students in their seats?
Oh yeah,
we
talk about this all the time when you and I are at the games, because it clears out by halftime.
For sure. And for the longest time, like my freshman, sophomore, even most of my junior year, I thought it was a specific to Coastal thing, like we're not doing enough and everything like that. And then really getting enveloped and spending more time with marketing and doing like office hours, and then taking the opportunities to look at other schools our size, and then schools even bigger than us that are like, you've got close games, like very, very like high profile Power 4 games that even if it's a touchdown or 10-point difference, it doesn't matter. These students have different priorities, and I understand that. And so it's like, it's one of those things where you can only do so much. It's comforting to know that it's not, I guess, unique to Coastal. Yeah. So it's not like it's a shortcoming on our end. It's like that's just where their priorities are, and I understand that. So.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too, is we were, because of those changes, we were at the beginning before the season had started, we had thought about it. We were looking through some of these changes, and we're like, well, maybe these will be the difference makers. And I mean, there's still time, obviously. Yeah. I still haven't seen somebody crowd surf. Do you remember the Con Wave? Like that was branded.
Something about paddle boards and surfing. And do you have any insider information on this?
So there are paddle, or I would say paddle boards. They're
bodyboard,
skimboard,
boogie
boards.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, yeah.
There are boogie boards that do go up into the student section, and I think that's more so the comfortability of everybody in the student section. We did have a few people for the first game sit on one and get hoisted up.
Oh, what the heck?
We also had a few that would put it like towards the wall and then stand up on it. Dang. But that more so comes for the comfortability of the students.
Sure.
Do you have to sign a waiver?
You probably should, but at the end of the day, it's like that's the atmosphere and what, like, we can set in place all these things, but if the students and the fans aren't into it, then it's what the fans make it, right? Like, you put in work on the front end, but it's like if the fans aren't vibing with it, and it's the same thing with chants, right? Like, if they're not bought into the chant, they're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Or even like the in-game games, like it's very easy at a timeout to turn around and talk to your friends. Oh, the game's back on. All right, turn back around. But if we make an engaging and fun experience, then it's like I want to actually watch. I want to actually be involved. I want a chance to catch a T-shirt or scream so I can get a pizza or
I
something
see
like
a free T-shirt coming my way. I'm screaming at the top of my lungs.
Oh yeah. Well, I remember the last game I was at 2 weeks ago. Somebody in the student section like dropped a shirt, and then all the front people are like, "Can you please grab that for me? Please give it to me." And I'm like, "Who dropped it?" And they're all raising their hands, and I'm like, "Oh, random person."
Cowboy hats.
Oh, those were so cool.
Super nice.
Yes.
Those were a hit. Those were a surprise to us. So we walk into the office and it's like, oh, there's 500 cowboy hats. I was like, where did these come from? So I don't know. I assume the plan's to get more, but I don't know. But like those were a very big hit, and I wanted to keep one, but then they came in and it's like sitting at the top of my head, and I was like, I can't wear this. I ended up giving it to my roommate. So.
Well, if you ever see two extra ones,
for sure,
you have small heads.
Absolutely.
I will say, so like last year, we talk about the student section kind of clearing out, and that's the thing at every college. I mean, it happens at Syracuse and Notre Dame and Virginia, and name a school, and the student section is going to mostly leave by, the start of the third quarter. But this year compared to last year, I would say that more people are staying, mostly because they extended the student section, and it definitely looks like there are more people that stay. Like, is that something you've seen too, at least in comparison to last year?
I did. That was something I was going to mention. The third quarter of both the ODU game as well as the William and Mary game, I looked up in the third quarter, not only at the student section, which was probably 50% full, which is in comparison to 15% full from the past couple years, as well as the rest of the stadium as well. And I just got chills to think that we had that game pretty much in hand at that point. The William and Mary game, at least, we had that game pretty much in hand. And you're facing a good FCS program in William and Mary, but a game that you pretty much have in the bag that people are excited to see other things about the game. So that was a very cool experience. I think not just for me, but everybody in our department, everybody in the athletic department as a whole. And I think that's really cool, as well as not just getting them to stay, but as many people that come out. So for the student section for the first game against William and Mary, we had just under 7,000 students at the game. And to put that in perspective of how many students we have just over 11,000. That's right around the ballpark of 63% of students that were all together at one game. You don't get that anywhere. No. The goal number that we always try to hit somewhere near is 40%. So to be over 20% over that. Again, it's the first game. You got first game buzz, but again, it's still an FCS opponent, William and Mary. So what are they the most excited for is that experience with not just what they're seeing on the field, but being there with their friends and family and all that stuff. So,
speaking of really cool experiences, I think the last game, was it Virginia that was the last game I was at with you?
Did they lose?
I honestly don't remember.
If they did, then it was Virginia.
So you would know this because I'm about to bring it up. Some of the wildest things that you've seen happen at a game, I'm going to throw out the proposal that we just saw.
I didn't expect that.
I didn't expect that either.
I was going to ask, did you know it was coming?
So I did know it was happening. We found out on Friday, and that promotion was supposed to be a normal promotion. Like the promotion is
Boots.
Boot It for Boots. It's Wild West, and I believe, because they're a new sponsor this year, I believe how it was supposed to go is like a 15 to 20-yard field goal in a pair of boots, and if you're able to kick it and make it, you win a pair of boots is how it was supposed to go. And then we got a call the day before. It's like, hey, we have this. Can we fit it somewhere? And I was like, well, he's already down. Like if you've seen the Ohio State clip at spring game, the player's already down on a knee, getting ready for his girlfriend to kick. He like stops her and pulls out the ring. So that's kind of what we were trying to emulate. And so we go up to him. Obviously the guy knows, but the woman does not, and we try to get her to do it, and she's like very, very hesitant, but it's like, oh, it's going to be great, it's all this, that, and the other. They come down to the field, and she's like freaking out. I was like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, that, and the other. I was like, it's going to be fine. Like, you know how easy a 15-yard field goal is? Talking all this, and I was like,
hard.
Trust me. I know it's hard, but she doesn't know that. She has no clue, and I also know that she's not going to have to kick it anyway.
Yeah,
so it's not going to be hard. I was like, they're all going to get excited for you anyway. It's going to be great, knowing that that's going to be true because they're going to get excited for her anyway. And we go out there, and it goes off like a hitch. And that was a time where we did that all from up top. So I didn't have my microphone on or anything like that. And we kind of at the angle they were at, you could kind of not see, like we knew she was going to say yes, but like wasn't sure when she said yes. I heard her say yes. I turn around to the student section. I just yell at them like, she said yes, and just start going like this. And it was surreal, like so surreal of an experience. And for that to be the first game this is the first time this first season I've done host for football, and to be one of the first experiences I had with it is just like that's a story I'm gonna tell my kids for like a long time. And I'm coming off the field. I was like, I told you there's nothing to be worried about. And she like hit me in the arm and I was like, I told you, and I told you they'd be excited for you, and they were. So
I have 2 follow-up questions to that. Did she still get a pair of boots?
Oh. She did. They gave her. They did. So they didn't. They gave her a coupon.
She can wear them on
the
wedding
dress. The whole deal. So
because
Wild West got to use those pictures and stuff like that. So they gave them both a free pair of boot coupon.
That's so
good for them. But also, what if she said no?
Yeah.
Does she get 2 pairs of boots?
I'm not. I guess I walk away and he gets to keep the ring and she gets 2 pair of boots. I guess. And I don't know how we would have played that off, but.
Well, you move on to the next thing. Expect the unexpected in broadcasting.
So
right?
would you say that's absolutely? Would you say that's the craziest thing you've experienced so far then?
For football, probably.
What about for non-football?
Yeah, you say football.
Yeah. What about other sports?
I'm trying to think.
Experience anybody running on the court?
I got it.
All right.
I got it. My first game ever as a host.
Oh.
I was doing.
Was this basketball?
This was women's basketball.
Oh, okay.
Women's basketball.
Yep.
Set the scene.
Sometime first game November. It would have been November.
Last year.
Last year.
November hasn't happened this year yet.
It is. Well, okay. Well, it could have been 2 years ago for all I know.
I'm kidding.
Continue, Gray.
So November last year, and my first and I'm like nervous out of my mind because I still get jitters every single game regardless if it's PA and there's 10 people in the stands or it's football and there's 20,000 people in the stands. I get jitters about it because it's so like a special thing that I'm getting to do it as like a glimpse into what my career hopefully is going to be. But it wasn't like a highly attended game, but it was still, first game, really, really jittery. I've never walked out onto the court or on to an open area with a microphone and they can see me. And I have a clipboard and I'm like kind of reading it, but I also, in my head, I've got to be able to perform as well. And it's a half court shot with a 13-year-old kid. I believe his name is Marcus. And we go out there and I think I fumble over like half my words. And I was like, all right, guys, this is Marcus. He's going to shoot a half court shot courtesy of South Carolina Education Lottery. And I counted him down. I was like, all right, 3, 2, 1. You got it, Marcus. Shoots it, drains it. Nothing but net. Nothing
13
but net.
years old?
He's 13 years old. I'm watching the clip back because thankfully we got a clip of it, and for like 5 seconds I'm like trying to say something. I don't have any words, and I was just like, it went in, guys.
You were like,
I was like,
it's in.
That happened, and it was so cool because we got pictures back from it, and I posted them on Instagram, and his mom ended up seeing it and commenting on it, and that was just such a full circle experience because it was like that was probably a really cool experience for him and his mom and everything, but it was an even cooler experience for me. And so our job is to try to make those like fan experiences and cool experiences for the fans, but we get stories for forever. So
that's another story to add to the things I'll tell my kids when I'm
older.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's wild.
Sure.
That's a good way to start your career too.
Yes. Oh, for sure. I was like, all right, well maybe we're moving in the right direction with this whole career path thing, maybe.
Oh my gosh. So then, speaking of your career path, you have unrestricted access. Okay. Get this in your head. Right. Painting the scene. Unrestricted access to any league, any team. We'll actually put like teams. Like I'll give you like if you were in a major city, you could do for all the teams if you chose. Where are you going? What you doing?
That's so hard because the goal would be to go to a major city, like any major city, and work for an MLB, NFL, NBA team. Yeah. So like Houston would be really cool.
Really?
Okay.
I want to stay warm.
I want to stay warm.
Like,
sure. So not Minnesota.
No offense to anywhere up north, but just growing up growing up in the state of South Carolina, and that was also a thing too because professional is something to like check off the bucket list, but growing up in the college atmosphere, that's eventually where I want to stay for a long time. Like I would for a few years like to go professionally in somewhere in either Texas or Florida, but I think college is really where I'm going to see a lot of my career. So to give you an answer, Houston, Dallas, or Tampa.
Okay. You and I have been on the okays today.
Like we really like that word.
Okay. But I get that though with college. I remember like when I was in college and I was reporting on, like for us it's hockey. You love to see those kids grow, right?
Yeah.
You often, I mean, hockey is a slightly different than football, obviously. Where we come from a program, UND sends a lot of kids to the NHL. So oftentimes they don't actually end up staying the full 4 years. But it's beautiful to watch them grow. And then you get to report on them every year getting like better and better and better. And then next thing you know, you have a Hobie Baker finalist or Mike Richter award winner. And you're like, I feel like you were in a cocoon all these years and now you're in the NHL and you're flying. And I did nothing. I did none of that, but I watched.
Which
sounds creepy now.
No, but you're a fly on the wall. You're a part of it, right? Just like I get to be the part of like going to school with all these athletes, right? Like you have that connection with them, and I think that's something that's really cool. And also the college atmosphere with there being so many different sports. Like last year, I do PA in the spring for softball, women's lacrosse, and beach volleyball. And we had one day where I was at beach volleyball for 2 games, went over and did senior day for women's lacrosse, came back and did beach volleyball their senior day at the end of the day. And then there was another day where it was lacrosse, softball, and then over to baseball to host at the end of the day. And being able to do that all in one day and see the different fans and see the different teams and the way that they interact with different promotions as well as different like songs and all that kind of stuff is something that's really cool, and you can get somewhat at a professional level, but I think it's something very unique and very special to college athletics.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously college athletics is kind of where you fell in love with doing this whole, sorry, there's a bug in here, with doing this. But I want to ask you a question because I experience this as somebody who has to, constantly report on sports and just be there as kind of a non-biased type of person, reporting on the atmosphere. So sometimes I miss being a fan. Like over the weekend, I got to go to the Syracuse NC State game as a fan, and I could not tell you the last time I got to do that. Do you ever miss just being in the stands with the student section, not as somebody who's trying to pump them up?
So, and it's funny because I kind of get to live both worlds with it with the host. With the PA, you've got to kind of be a little more neutral. Sometimes you can throw it, like you can be more exciting in your tone of voice, but everything you say has to be very like neutral. With the host position, and you mentioned about like missing that opportunity. I've never actually attended a Coastal Sporting event as a fan.
Never?
I
in
started,
all 4 years?
I started working, I worked with ESPN Plus my freshman year to do broadcast, helping out with the camera, and then I straight into marketing into my sophomore year, up top around helping out with music and all that kind of stuff, as well as the announcing part. So I've never actually attended a game solely as a fan. Now we get done with some of our stuff, we'll go up and sit in the stands for different events, but I don't have that experience per se. But when you've got the host position, I turn the microphone off and I get rowdy with them too, within reason and within like respectfully.
Sure.
And I also try to engage the fans in that way so that we are like a somewhat more respectful group. But I can turn the microphone off and I can scream with them just like they are. Like at volleyball, especially at like volleyball and basketball where they can hear you. And I'll try to, because that kind of gets that personal connection between me and the fans. And so it's a lot of sort of a best of both worlds type of experience.
Yeah.
Nice.
Follow-up question. Sorry.
No, I was going to go nuts.
Follow-up question about, kind of the Coastal fan connection and all that. Are you to that point where walking around campus, everybody's just like, hey, you're that guy with the microphone. Hey, I know you.
It is kind of cool to see that for sure. It a little bit. Yeah. I try to like just be nice to everybody I pass, but every so often I'm here like, oh yeah, you're the guy at the football game, or like, oh, you did such a great job, and that brightens the rest of my day when I hear that. So that's really, really cool experience.
That's awesome. I was going to piggyback off your earlier question.
Sure.
About kind of like having FOMO about not being in the stands, but kind of switching gears because I'm assuming you guys are getting ready and you guys do a lot of planning ahead of homecoming. Do you get to participate in some of those homecoming events that like aren't on game day?
So a little bit. I got to go to Blanton Park and walk around for the Teal Nation Tuesday. I post on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. A lot of it is geared around athletics, so not as much as you think, but I am a representative this year for the Spirit of the Chanticleer Award, so I'll be out on the field at halftime. It's essentially Coastal's like homecoming court.
Yeah.
They pick, so you have to get nominated, and then you go in front of a board and you interview, and then you're selected down to, I think there's 6 or 7 of us, and then there's voting going on towards the end of the week. And at the homecoming game at halftime, everybody walks out. You walk on the field, they do a little blurb about you, and then they only pick one, but they announce it's the Spirit of the Chanticleer, and it's basically the person who exuberates Coastal, I guess, the best.
And you're one of the
I think you have a pretty good shot at that.
I am one of the nominees. I was nominated last year, didn't win, and it's cool. It's really just a resume thing. It's cool to be out there. I'd like to win this year. It'd be really, really cool.
Are we allowed to vote?
Selfish plug.
Can we vote?
You can't. You have to have a Coastal email.
Dang it.
And I don't know also when voting goes out, but I
Can we
think
register for class?
later in the week. But I think voting goes tomorrow and Friday.
Well, you have our vote.
Thank
you do have our vote.
Thank you so much.
Just mentally.
It doesn't mean anything, but
it means,
No, it does.
It means something
to me.
here.
It means
Right
something
here.
to me. So thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you.
we'll make you a crown.
So spirit-wise, because obviously you want to be excited all the time. You want to have Coastal win and win and win. But like last week, the loss against JMU, I was there. It was brutal. The morale was low.
Sure.
It was just tough. For you, do you like feel those losses even more as somebody who's just become so involved with this team over the past, 4 years?
I would say so, but I also try to see outside of it as well. At the end of the day, like the game is played within the 3 hours that you're out there, but there's so much more to life outside of that, and trying to not feed too far into the highs and lows, especially when the job is to be very, very excited. You don't want to have that letdown at the end of the day. Even if you win, right? You go out eventually, you're gonna have to come back down from all that excitement. So trying to just kind of keep an even kilter. But I would say I'm a little more bought in than you say the normal fan, just being around it and everything. And also like more people will come out of the game if you're winning. So it does help in that aspect that you got a good team and you put out a good product, then more people are gonna come out to the game.
Do you go to any of those away games if you can?
I try to. I've had the opportunity to go to the Hawaii Bowl last year, which was
You
awesome.
were there? I didn't even know that.
So,
I was there too.
Yeah, I was up. That one I did. I guess technically I was up in the stands for. So that one.
There were not a lot of Coastal people
There were
there,
not,
though.
but the few that were there were.
They were passionate. Yeah, San Jose State had the unfair advantage of being closer to
Being-
Hawaii
right.
on the complete opposite side of the country
Right,
from
a
where
couple,
we are.
3,000 miles more, however many miles,
No,
closer
they only
to
had to
we
take
are.
one plane. We had to take, 3.
Yeah, I've taken that flight one too many
exhausting.
times, and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
So by the time you get there, you're like, how do you stay amped? Like by the time the games play, it's your bedtime
It's
here.
right. It's ready to
Yeah.
go to bed. Ready to go to bed. And I think that's just like the excitement of the day, and the feeding off of it to a certain extent is also very important. But that's also what's hard about like late games, right? You get up in the morning. I don't normally sleep in. I'm normally up by like 6 or 7, and you're out of bed and you're amped, right? So you've got to kind of hold on to that energy all day, or you're gonna hit a lull, and then you've got to get it again. So I love night games. I love the atmosphere night games bring, but I'm also very excited for a noon kick where you just get out of bed and you're already there, and then you're ready to rock and roll. And thankfully, it's not going to be 800 degrees like it was against Virginia.
Sweating. Everybody was sweating.
So
Yes,
sweat.
guys.
I wore black for some reason that day, and I looked down at my sleeves towards the end of the game, and I was like, I thought like I leaned up against the wall or something. There was paint on my arms. And then my sweat dried. It was that warm.
my God,
So
wow.
I'm very excited for kind of a earlier start to this game.
Yeah. So obviously you are by far like one of the most positive people at these games, the most excited. But also, I mean, everybody obviously doesn't wake up super duper positive and excited every day. How do you maybe like get there? Like, what's your advice to other people of like, hey, here's how we can get more excited about this game?
Probably just like kind of how cool college is. I think we get wrapped up in so many things that make us like anxious or sad and all this, like all these things that like you do deal with that are real and that are very important in your life. But to experience, like obviously I see it as the game is a bigger thing, but it's all the little things, right? And really enjoying the little things, because you're only going to have them, you're only going to be a college student for so long, and you're only going to be able to go to these sporting events with your friends for so long. So enjoy them and stay as long as possible and get loud and all this, like all the things that have to do with a game like that. Like you're only going to have these experiences for so long, and they're also very like special, I feel like, because there is only like a select amount that you have. Like let's say you have 6 football home games a year, 12, I'm in college, 24. So
I never
you have 20. You have 24
okay.
home games with your undergrad, right? So that seems like a lot of time, but
it goes by quick.
It goes by very, very quick. Like I'm a senior. I remember stepping on campus. We were still partially in COVID in 2021, and now I'm about to walk the stage in May, which is just nuts.
Time flies in college,
really
and that's
does.
definitely one of those things where you're like, oh, I missed it. I blinked, and it's gone. Because now we've talked about homecoming, and we've talked about the Virginia game and stuff. We've talked about JMU.
Papers.
Fan reaction or fan energy, do you think it's higher during homecoming, maybe during a rival or a Sun Belt game, or maybe like one of those top 25 teams you face?
So it really just depends. Like I think we're going to have a kind of a different fan base than we not that we normally have, but like a lot of people come into town for homecoming. That's why you call it homecoming. You have people like alumni that haven't been there for a while, so it's like you've got a different aspect there. And being on national television, we've been working very hard to try to pack the stadium as well. I know for the students, they really like the obviously the rivalry games, but as well as like the color out games. They're like, oh, what's the theme of the game? Oh, we're wearing a whiteout. Okay, then they really get to be one unit like that. So probably the color out games, but I know at the end of the day it's going to be App State. The blackout on a Thursday night, and
well, it's a color out game, a blackout.
Right.
So.
Hopefully, President Benson decides to cancel class on Friday if we win. So.
Please, President.
I'll write you.
I'll DM him on Twitter.
If not, I will promise I will be in class on Friday at 9 a.m. But if not, or if there is a chance, hopefully class gets canceled.
You took it so much nicer. Like, oh, I'll DM him. I'll write you a legal doctor's note.
So I want to ask a question like about rivalries, and it's a question of if it is one, because you got to Coastal in 2021, so you weren't there for the whole Louisiana, Coastal, Carolina co-champions thing. And just to give a little bit of history, because I've been talking about this all day on the show, so now I'm very familiar with it.
I'm glad you're mentioning it.
Of course. So 2020, Coastal Carolina and Louisiana played each other in the regular season. Coastal came out on top with a game-winning field goal, and then they were supposed to play each other in the Sun Belt Championship game. But that championship game never happened because of COVID cases on the Coastal team. Like, Louisiana literally had gotten to the airport. They were in the Myrtle Beach airport.
Nice airport.
And then it is a very lovely airport. It won an award, I'm pretty sure. Anyways. And then they had to literally turn around and go back to Louisiana. Like, they were here in Myrtle Beach getting ready to play, and then the game was canceled. So, you know, there were, and this is what I've been told, so now this is kind of hearsay and all that, but like people on Louisiana were like, oh, Coastal's scared. They're scared to play us, even though Coastal had beat them in the regular season. But that's besides the point. For you, I mean, is there any chatter among, you know, maybe those super hardcore fans that I'm sure you know, or like students who maybe were there, you know, grad students and stuff who remember this? Just like, what's the conversation around this game? Because they haven't played each other since the regular season that year.
Right. And I have heard a little bit about that. Like, I know that there was a social media post that went out on their end about like they were ready to play, but the opponent wasn't. And that was very, like, however you take it. At the end of the day, like, you just go out there and we're going to win the game, right? And I like to play into like that emotion piece, but at the end of the day, we know we've got a really good team, and just go out and win and show them why that take the co out of the champions and give us that one
Facts.
from 2020. Hey, take the co out of the champions. Couldn't beat us in the regular season. So
True, 30-27 with that final.
Yeah, well, that's what people were talking about earlier. Like, because I was chatting with people about this today, and they're like, I don't know why they didn't just give Coastal the championship title since they literally beat Louisiana in the regular season, like they had already played.
That's like usually how the tiebreakers for most like leagues go. It's like, okay, well, who won the series? And at this point, I think Coastal Carolina's up 2-1 in the series against the Raging Cajuns. I want to say Raisin Canes every time. That's chicken.
Yeah,
Raging Cajuns.
Yeah, because Coastal won the first time they played, lost the second time they played, and then won back in 2020. So.
Well, that'll be an interesting game, though.
Yeah.
And that's,
Sure.
I think
I'm
everyone's
curious-
been waiting for it.
Yeah, I'm curious how many fans from Louisiana are going to come to the game, and if any of them will be talking crap to Coastal fans.
I will say, from what I've seen, at least from different sports, the women's soccer team played Louisiana this past Sunday, and they traveled well for women's soccer. So I'd assume I think they travel really well. They've got a really good alumni connective base. So I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see a lot of red and black. Hopefully they're not leaving happy though.
We'd like to make them miserable. I'm kidding.
I hope they have a great time, but I hope
but also
their score on the scoreboard isn't reflective of that time. So
there we go. Yeah. I'm gonna switch gears a little bit.
Go for it.
I think we've talked about CSU a lot. We've
a lot.
enjoyed talking about CSU.
I love talking Coastal.
We will always continue to talk about Coastal.
Facts.
But 6 days ago, October 10th, is actually World Mental Health Day, and I've been researching Gray Bray. I told him earlier today, if you get any LinkedIn notifications, don't buy premium. It was me.
Allyson has been stalking your profile.
But I also noticed on your social medias, you have this, I guess like a story thing that you can click on. You know, it says the You Matter, the whiteboards that you carry around a lot. You actually brought your whiteboard today. Tell us about, I think it's You Matter movement.
Yeah.
Sort of. It's basically, sorry.
No, that's right. Take your time.
Take a moment to get set.
There we are.
Yeah.
Doing this for 2 years, I should know how to hold this thing. But so this whole.
Here, hold it up to the camera so people can see. There you go.
It says, you are valuable.
And that's the word of the day for today. And so I started doing this, I want to say it was January of my sophomore year. So almost 2 years now. And it was kind of a way to just, I wanted to incite positivity, and I was thinking of ways to do it on campus, but I didn't know what else that would be. I started, so the first thing I did was I was out on my main college. So communication is within the Edwards building, which is Fine Arts and Humanities, and that's one of the main three that are on Prince Lawn, so kind of a central area. And I held the door in front of that building before the class, just telling people, before my class is 8, 9 a.m., just telling people good morning. Not it really wasn't anything complex. I'm not even holding the door with my hand. It's just a foot in the door. And I'm just telling people good morning as they come in. And at the end of the day, you're just trying to make people smile, right?
Yeah.
Just for 5 seconds, if they smile and they weren't going to smile, especially early in the morning when people don't want to be on campus, better yet in class. So I started doing that, and I was like, I kind of want to do I guess a more complex message or a different way of doing it, because you could tell people hey, how you doing as you're in passing, but you can't, say you're valuable 500 times, however many people pass, or I'm proud of you, or you matter, whatever it is that I write on it in a day. But I started doing the whiteboard, and when I hold it, I try not to make it a super focal point. I don't hold it up at my face. Literally how I was holding it like this, I just hold it down by my waist. And if it's something that people want to read, they can, and hopefully they take something from it. So the philosophy I have behind it is if I pass 200 people in a day, let's say 50 people glance at it, 15 people read it, and 2 people, it just even makes them smile for 5 seconds as they're walking past, then I don't want to say it's not a job, it's done its job, but it's having an impact. And at the end of the day, one of my goals that I have is trying to make 10 million people smile, and I don't know how to quantify that, but you got to start early if that's a big number. So
yeah, I love that. Teagan,
yeah,
you are valuable.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think it's so beautiful because I think that was really one of the first things that I noticed about you, because obviously I'm a big social media person, as many of you know. And so, that was kind of the first thing I saw about you, and I was like, who is this person? And then saw, all your hosting stuff and all that. So first of all, I just want to say I think it's wonderful. I think it lights up so many people's days, whether it be in person walking past you or the pictures you post. But I wanted to ask, have you ever had, those conversations with people, those people that stop you to say, hey, like, what are you doing? Just those curiosity things.
Absolutely. And you mentioned earlier about being noticed for the host thing. I get noticed a lot more for this, which is really cool and not something I would ever think of. But people asking about it. A lot of people at the beginning would ask, "Oh, is this for a class? Or is this like a social experiment? Or is the university paying you to boost morale on campus?" And understandably so. It's not like a normal thing or anything like that. Or like, what agenda are you trying to put? I was like, I'm just trying to make people smile. And I understand that with the amount of things we're exposed to on social media all the time and the amount of like not so happy things that people have to deal with. But that's kind of the whole purpose behind it, is to kind of showcase that there is like good things in the world. And so I've had a lot of people come like full circle with it. They were like, they would either be like, oh, why are you doing that? Or like some people that just like will like laugh at it. Like there are people that do have a negative response to it, and I don't take any of those to heart. I always just try to lead once again with a smile. And I have had people come full circle, going from like laughing at it to like genuinely reading some of them and then having that impact on them. Like this wasn't a negative one, but this was one that I was like the first time that I had like, wow, this is actually really having a positive impact on people. I was at Chick-fil-A. I was in line at Chick-fil-A on campus, and some girl approached me, one of the workers, she approached me and she's like, yeah, I saw your sign yesterday and it made me cry. And I was like,
oh my God.
First of all, I'm sorry, but I also understood it from like a cry is positivity, but I was like, I never intended it to have any sort of impact. Like when I started doing it, I was going to be like a once every like 2 weeks type of thing, like not anything that I would do every day. And now I get the opportunity to do it every day, and it does. People are very receptive to it, which is something that's I never thought was going to. I didn't think it was going to take off like that, and now I try to do it every day, and I've had the opportunity to give a few of them away as well. And there are other people that do them on campus as well.
And so you give a different message every day? I
do. Every so often. Like I've done You Are Valuable a few times, and I will copy like once every couple weeks. Kind of my whole idea behind that, because I do try to come up with original ones, but I'm passing different people every day, right?
Yeah,
you never know. And it also might be the same thing. Like one of the first ones I did, and one of like the staples around it is the message, I'm so proud of you. Because I think that's something that everybody needs to hear. And even if they hear it a lot, you don't hear it enough. And how much those words can truly like change. It's done wonders for me when people have told me that. And I know that they could do that for other people. So I do that one a lot. And also, even if you've seen me with the same message before, maybe it didn't have an impact on you then, but it does now. Or maybe it had an impact on something you were dealing with in your life at that point, and now it's got for something else that you're dealing with, right? So I used to get like, oh, I want to make sure they're all different. Now it's like, it's serving its purpose, however it is, regardless if even if it's the same message all week. So.
Yeah, well, and that's exactly what when I saw those messages, I was thinking, you never really know what somebody's going through, and we always talk about that. And I have a sweatshirt I always wear, and it says, normalize talking about mental health. And I think that sometimes, even if somebody can't talk about it, being able to see somebody who, holding a sign that maybe says you're valuable or I'm proud of you, kind of says like, oh, I'm seen. Like this guy sees me. He doesn't know who I am, but he sees me. And it might just be what you need that day, especially in college where you have such heightened emotions. Maybe you just like bombed an exam, or you're going into an exam that you haven't studied for, or you didn't get that internship. Like there's a lot of things going on. You're far from home and you miss your family, and you need somebody to tell them you're proud of yourself. Right. And I actually read a message yesterday. It says like, something along the lines of, if no one told you you're proud of yourself today, or they're proud of you today, be proud of yourself. And That's one of those things where I tell myself, like, I'm proud of me. I got out of bed. You talked about waking up early in the morning. You're an early, like, I wake up at noon. I'm like, oh, I'm so proud of myself. I did it today.
Yeah.
I got out of bed.
There you go. Well, I'm proud of you for that.
Thank you.
Of course. Absolutely.
And Gray, you're valuable.
Thank you.
You are very valuable.
Thank you.
And we hope you win.
We do.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that those little messages make such a big difference. And something that you say to somebody can stick with them for like ever. Because I had a director in high school who literally before every show we did, musical, play, everything, we would all sit in a circle. We would say, I am here, I am present, I'm important. And I write that in all of my scripts. I say it before I go on air. Like it's just, it sticks with me.
I'd cry every day.
I mean, every
Yeah,
time
me
I
too.
think of it, every time, before an opening night, if I'm super nervous, if I'm like, oh my gosh, did I forget a line? I open that front page of my script. I am here. I am present. I am important. And those things stick with you.
Yeah.
And I am sure that your whiteboard is stuck with a lot of people around campus.
That'll be a board next week. Thank you. That's, and kind of what you say about reading that back. One of the things that I think is put such like a personal touch on it, and where I'm able to kind of see the impact is probably 80 to 90% of the time, the things that I'm writing on it are stuff that I need to hear in a day. And I was like, I'm probably not alone in needing to hear this. So hopefully somebody else that I do happen to come across in a day it'll have the same impact that it's having on me, because we all need to, like, in a world that is very negative at a lot of times, especially like access to so many negative things, being able to have, not only being able to have like a positive impact on like other people feel that positive impact, it's when they reciprocate it and they just like something is just like a little smirk of a smile, even if it's not like, even if they do it audibly and they don't even realize they're doing it, like that does so much for me. So
that's awesome. So have you considered what your sign's going to say when you cross the stage in May?
Facts. Are you going to bring it with you
If
across
he
the
doesn't,
stage?
If he doesn't, that's
no,
you've
the-
got a missed
to.
opportunity.
the plan is to definitely bring it across the stage. I want it to be like a camaraderie thing, so I'm not sure yet. Something around the lines, not as cheesy, but like we did it type of deal. Because I don't want it to just be like, hey guys, I did it, or hey guys, you did it. No, like we collectively did it, and it'll probably change 50 times, but I'm definitely going to be walk across. That's going to be awkward with handshakes, but I'll just slide the diploma card underneath and be like, oh, thank you, and so that'll probably something along the lines of that.
You could put a whiteboard on your grad cap, take it off, show the audience.
Like you make your grad cap into a whiteboard.
Exactly.
I like that idea.
That'd be genius.
All right.
You do you.
No, I love that. I didn't even think of that.
Or like wear it around your neck. You know how they have stoles? You could like make one we wear
I
it
don't
on your
know.
neck.
I think taking the cap off would be so.
The cap is much better.
All right, so the royalties to that are coming back to the show. If we go viral because of that, then all the royalties will come back to the show.
That was actually a Teagan thing.
That was
all her.
Right. No, that I didn't even. Yeah, we're doing that. So that's I don't know how to engineer that, but I got friends and we can figure.
Glue a whiteboard.
Just glue a whiteboard. We'll figure it out.
We'll send you some.
Yeah.
I'm a DIY queen.
We'll come up with
my hands are actually
drawing,
black right now because I was spray painting things for Halloween. So.
There we go.
Wow. But awesome. I was so glad that we were able to get you today because I wanted to. I 100% wanted to ask about that. We do something on the podcast. We actually just started last week. You weren't here for it, Teagan. So great. Fantasy football, are you familiar?
What a switch.
I am familiar with fantasy football.
We are switching because I want to end this on a good, strong sports note here for you, Gray. So last week, Ian and I started drafting our fantasy teams.
Fantasy.
Exactly.
So your dream team, if you had unrestricted access to any players.
Okay.
If I took them, you can also take them, and they could not be plagued by injuries. Okay. So last week we picked quarterbacks.
Gotcha.
I picked Joe Burrow.
Okay.
He picked Jalen
Hurts.
Daniels.
Jaden Daniels, the Washington Commander.
Yes.
Commander?
Yeah. Thank you.
You're fine.
And we selected Josh Allen for you in your absence.
I accept.
Okay.
I accept wholeheartedly.
Okay, so who are you taking as a QB? I know I didn't give you enough time.
And these are current players, I assume?
Yes, current.
Current players. and I can take
You
ones
can
that are
take- like, yeah,
already
you
been
could repeat.
selected.
Yeah, you can absolutely.
I don't think I'm going to, and just the way that they've been playing, Jared Goff.
Okay.
Jared Goff. I mean,
Valid.
I think he's the only quarterback this year with a receiving touchdown as well as a perfect 18 for 18 game against the Seahawks. So just the way he's playing right now, Jared Goff.
Oh, that's a good one.
valid.
And then we'll go into the next round now. So now you can pick either a running back or a wide receiver.
Okay.
I'll let you guys
Looking at
both
my
think of
current
that.
All
'Cause
right.
I already have mine written down because I knew I would forget. But it's one of those things, I'll just kind of, as you guys think, I'll kind of explain it. The way Ian and I had decided to set this up was we can kind of reflect back on how your players have been doing. And as the season goes on, I mean, obviously you're going
Yeah.
down your list. Maybe once you get to a couple weeks in and we're talking about flex players, now you're like, oh, you know what? This guy's been doing so good, but I already filled up my wide receiver and running backs.
Right.
So I'll go first.
Okay.
And I'm going to butcher this name, but I honestly swear that in Portuguese culture, or in Portuguese language, it's pronounced differently. Isaiah Pacheco.
Pacheco? Yeah.
Pacheco.
That's a good choice. It's
And
a first
that's
round
why I'm-
pick.
And you'd pull him out of injury right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So not plagued by
Plagued by
injury.
injury, not
He's
plagued by
like,
injury.
he's at his top performance.
Yeah. No, that's valid. I mean, this will show a little bit of bias to my Alabama fandom, but I'll go with Devontae Smith.
Okay.
Just because he just came off of injury, I know, but
Oh, but we're not talking injury free.
injury free. Those
Yeah.
injuries, they don't exist.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I like what he did in the beginning of the season. I like how he outruns his projections for me every single week. Heisman winner.
You still lose,
Bama.
though.
Okay, wait. Let me say this. I have given up on my WMBF fantasy team.
She's 0-6.
Listen. I was asleep during the draft. I had driven back from Jack State, and I was dead asleep. Allison
fair.
texts me. She goes, "When does the draft start?" And I woke up an hour later. To that text. But in my league with my boyfriend and all my friends and stuff, I'm second in that
There you
league.
go.
So I have given my whole heart to that team, and thank God for Joe Burrow.
There you go.
So
In Joe Burrow, we trust.
Joe Burrow.
facts.
I'm
And
3-3,
and
and
I'm
There you go.
I started
Okay.
the season 0-3,
Okay.
so that
okay.
tells
So
you that
you're so you're back on the
I'm-
back
I'm
on
on
the
the up
wave.
and up.
Andrew sent me a trade. I was like, I don't even care anymore. I was like,
Come
this
on.
team is dead to me. All right. And you?
So
taking?
I'm thinking solely because of size and longevity, probably staying in the realm of the Crimson Tide. Go with Derrick Henry.
Okay.
Just because I just can't because as good as Baltimore is, I just don't think they're utilizing him as well as I guess they could be.
Yeah.
And so I wish I was here for the tight ends so I could take Isaiah Likely. But you said wide receiver or running back, so I'm going to go with Derrick Henry.
All right. We
That's
like
valid.
that. We
Yeah.
like that. Good
Likely
team.
went off week 1. That was
He did.
crazy.
He
I was
did.
watching that game.
I was
I
there.
wish I had taken him. Nobody on my fantasy team had taken him, and we're all like, dang it.
Well, we'll check in with you when
Yeah, we will.
when we keep going through this
Sure.
segment each week
Exactly.
or each episode.
You can send us a picture of the name on your whiteboard, and we'll
There we
Yeah,
go.
there we go. We'll
There we
show
go.
it to everybody. So if you guys want to catch Gray in his natural element,
Yes.
you can check him out on the field on the teal turf on Saturday at noon when the Shants take on the Ragin'
Louisiana.
Cajuns.
Yeah, baby. There we go.
Shants up. Is that
Shants up.
there you go?
There we go.
We will see you guys in a couple weeks.
We will.
Thank you so much, Gray, for joining us today.
Thank y'all so much for having me.